A mobile lab has made its way to a middle school in Carmel, giving students a very special learning opportunity.
Colin Gallagher takes us inside.
The Maine Mobile Biolab is all about bringing high-tech, hands-on STEM opportunities to students, specifically middle school students, where they live and learn across the state of Maine.
Maine Mobile Biolab is giving Carmel middle school students from 5th to 8th grade a chance to participate in hands-on STEM-based curriculums. The curriculums are part of the Educate Maine nonprofit's mission to bring hands-on opportunities to students in rural communities.
We don't have the money to have something like this, so this is an opportunity for hands-on experiential learning. It gets kids really engaged, and it's able to kind of up what we can do every day in the classroom.
8th grade students participated in one of the lab's several programs, utilizing state-of-the-art technology to determine how lactose intolerance functions in the human body.
So they were looking into enzyme specificity, how lactase breaks down the lactose sugar, which is a complex sugar found in dairy products. And they were doing a lot of testing for glucose presence, trying to identify different types of milk based on the sugar content.
Students were also given classwork on biolab-related activities in tandem with their hands-on experience, helping to spark student interest in future STEM careers.
I really want to go be a pediatrician when I grow up, so I'll be able to help little kids and tell them if they have if they're lactose intolerant, stuff like that.
My entire life I've just always been wanting to help people in a way, so this specific activity we did, it really shows how people's body works, so being able to understand that, it helps me know that some people are different.
It's incredibly rewarding to be able to see those changes in the students from when they come on the lab to when they leave. You can see the brightness in their eyes and their excitement about STEM, and realizing that they could do this, what they just did in class today, they could do as a career and make a difference in the world doing it.
Colin Gallagher, WABI News, Carmel.